Hello, hello. How are we doing, everybody? I hope you are having a fantastic Sunday. We are here live with you on the Action Lab. We're going to have a great show, much better than our last great show on Wednesday, where we had just the perfect. It was probably the perfect show on Wednesday, if I'm not lying to you guys.
Yeah,
we had no.
And I hope everyone's caught the 12 shows we've had since then, based off notifications. If you get notifications saying when we go live, we do apologize. Throughout the last few days since our last show, we know that everyone's getting notifications at random times of the day and night, and we don't know why or how that's happening. So our computers aren't even on, so that's tricky for us to be logging on at that time. So we apologize. Hopefully at this point you're here and not looking at that notification and being like, they're not on. Like, now they're just lying to us.
Yeah. We were so I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a specific thing with Twitch doing some updates or what, but yeah, there was something going on that we just don't have control over. Reached out to Twitch, so we're working on that. So if you're getting notifications, don't get annoyed. Keep the notifications on, but just know that we're going to be going live normally around our normal Sunday and Wednesday time frames. But yeah, we're going to have the best show ever here. No technical difficulties. We've been working through a lot of our audio issues that we've been having on our last show. Actually, and that was, honestly, Scotty, that was the first show that we've had that was like really that rough. So we got things organized on our end. We think we're in a good spot. So if you're in the chat, hit us up. Let us know if you're having trouble hearing us. Let us know if anything's going on issue-wise with the stream, and we'll do our best to get that fixed. But I think we're good. So we have a big show today. We're streaming live, Scotty, on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So if we're everywhere.
If you can't find us, you don't know how to work the World Wide Web.
Yeah. No, we're pretty much everywhere. We're like the wind, man. We're everywhere. So
I was gonna say like Visa.
Everywhere you want to be. If you want to sponsor us, Visa, let's make that happen.
Reach out.
Do we have to get affiliate status for that first, or no?
I think if we don't tell anybody, it's like under the table type stuff. We're good.
Yeah. So we'll get that figured out. By the way, still on my to-do list, which I haven't done yet. I'm gonna do it before his next fight, but we're gonna try to get that UFC fighter in here so we could drink beer out of a boot or a shoe. Still on my to-do list. I haven't had a chance to reach out, but we're going to. We're gonna make that happen.
Das Boot.
If he's able to jump on, Scotty's gonna do it. But
I'll down a boot of beer before him. I'll say it right now. I will beat him. I've watched. Oh my gosh! What's the Beer Olympics? What's that Beer Olympics movie where they drink out of a boot?
Oktoberfest.
Back in the day. No. Oh, is it?
I don't know.
No. Maybe it is. You know what I'm talking about? Where they have the like whole Beer Olympics, and I think it's in Germany, and they drink out of a boot. Okay, you don't know what I'm talking about, but it's with the guys from not Superbad. Oh my gosh, from Super Troopers.
all right, fair enough. Yeah, I trust you. We're off subject, but Ty.
Great movie if you haven't seen it.
Ty Tuivasa. We're gonna clip it right here. We're gonna clip this. We're gonna send it over to him via social media. Scotty here said he's gonna jump and do a boot full of beer or a shoe full of beer along with me on stream on our future show, leading up to maybe a UFC fight. So, Tai Tuivasa, if you're listening, let's get you on. Let's do it all together. Let's have a good time. We'll clip this. Anyways, we're off subject here, but it's something we're gonna do here. We're gonna have some fun. We're going to get Ty on here, and we're going to have a great time. It's always a good excuse to drink beer, right?
I don't really need an excuse, so to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's fair. That's fair. All right, well, let's dive into it. So usually Sundays, we have our local stuff going on, and we have all these different things happening, but it's been a little slow in the sports world, especially locally. We have the Rockies going, which they're doing fine, cruising along. You just got done with the All-Star break, so things are starting to get back up and running. But we have a lot of other things going on in the world of sports, so we want to go back in, and we put together the biggest wheel we've ever had. We're setting records on the stream tonight, Scotty. Action Lab record for the largest wheel.
I mean, we're going to spin it so much, it's like a record, right?
It's,
true. See what I did there?
Did you plan that out?
For all you young kids out there, a record is something they used to play music on. That was before our time, to be fair, as well.
That is before our time, too. But, hey, at the same time, it was like towards the latter end of us, right? Like, your parents had some records, right?
Oh, yeah. By my time, I was cassette tape originally. Then we moved on to the CD, and there were a few other weird things that kind of came in between before everything just went digital like it is now. But,
Yeah, no. I think everyone has a little bit of exposure. But now you got the kids now, Scott, that are jumping in and doing, like, the retro. They're getting, like, the Polaroids again, bringing those back. They're bringing the record players back, everything else. So, yeah. It's coming back. So people, I think, have a better idea now.
We should just have a retro scene show at some point, because we can just talk about all these things that are coming back in that maybe loop us back into being cool at some point. Because we're past that point. Like, we're not cool.
No, we're not.
I try to use at work. Apparently, kids are saying the word slaps now. Like, that slaps, which apparently means, like, that's really good. So usually I looked it up on Google, and it means, like, usually they're referencing food, that, like, whatever you're eating, and you say, oh, that slaps, and it's really good. I've tried to use it a couple times at work, and some of the younger kids that are work for me are just kind of looking at me like, no, you can't.
Gen Zers right now have all the terms. Bet, I think, is another one. Like, hey, you wanna go out next week, and then you would say bet. And that would mean, yeah, like, I'm in. Bet.
Oh, how much are they betting?
That's just a yes. Oh. That's just them confirming, but bet is a thing. And then there was another one that I have been trying to use, and I can't even remember what it is. That's how new I am. It's like learning a new language, man. But yeah, it's wild. If you guys throw your best Gen Z terms in the chat and with a definition, so we can practice them on the Action Lab tonight. I'm curious, because there's a lot of them out there.
I will use it in a sentence for sure. So
yeah,
and it'll be bad.
Maybe that's a thing.
In that sense, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah. No, we have to use it on stream if you guys throw it in the chat. So throw it in the chat. We'll love to hear it.
And in our interview with that UFC guy, we'll have to like somehow integrate all these words into the interview.
Once we get him on the show, because we will get him on the show, we're going to have some questions that we'll ask him that you guys have provided, when most likely we want some sort of Gen Z terminology in with those questions. So start thinking right now, and we'll get that rolling here. Sound good? Perfect. I know you guys are all on board. So let's dive in. We have a big wheel to get through, and who knows if we'll have enough time to get through it, Scotty. We might not, but we're gonna try.
We're gonna let the wheel decide our fate.
We're gonna let the wheel decide. So let's dive in. Let's get this wheel rolling. Now, Scotty, again, biggest wheel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different topics here, one of which is our grab bag. So our grab bag is going to be the one that's going to be whatever we want it to be. It could be an obscure topic. It could be something that we've been thinking about that's been on our mind a little bit. Whatever we want it to be. So that's how this is going to work. We're going to go through these, and we're going to make sure that, we touch on all of these sports areas that have been in the news, or whatever it is to do with it. We might have some like little weird topics or some bets going on. Once we spin and land on some of these, we'll get to those and we'll have some fun with it. So let me just actually adjust this real quick, and we will let's see, there we go. Done. All right, let's spin the wheel. If you could guess, Scotty, which one this lands on first of all of these topics, I'll chug the rest of my beer.
Bad. I'm gonna go with. Oh man, I don't even.
Guess in the chat too.
I'm going Space Jam.
Space Jam. Space Jam. Okay, all right. And then let's see what happens. Anybody in chat? Any bets on anybody in chat? Throw it in before this stops. It's like roulette. You got to get it before the ball stops.
Come on, Space Jam. Oh, it's not. It doesn't have enough juice.
NFL. Okay, NFL. All right. So here's what we're talking about here. NFL. There's been a Fox Sports futures bets that we wanted to just talk about. So Fox Sports released the top 5 futures bets to make right now, and I thought some of these were interesting. So we're going to go through these a little bit, Scotty, and we're going to go through whether or not you would make these bets going into this season. And these are some of the futures bets. Some of them are pretty interesting. So let's dive in. First one here has to do with your Kansas City Chiefs. And these are, again, bets to make right now. Right now, Chiefs plus 500 to win the Super Bowl. So for you guys who don't know what that means, a $10 bet wins $60 total in that.
Profit of 50.
Profit of 50. So you get your 10 back plus the 50. So that's how that works, plus 500. Now, immediately after the draft, Kansas City was plus 550 to win the whole thing back when, that was taking place. I believe it was about 550. But Chiefs, they're going to be back in the mix, if not going to be back in the Super Bowl to possibly challenge Tom Brady again for a rematch. So, Scotty, do you have plus 500 on the Chiefs to win this year Super Bowl?
I mean, obviously, everyone's not going to listen to my take because they're just going to assume I'm a homer at this point. But let me just say, here's what we know. We know Patrick Mahomes has played quarterback in this league for 3 seasons, right? 3 seasons.
Correct.
In those 3 seasons, he has won a Super Bowl, lost in the Super Bowl, and lost in the AFC Championship game in overtime where he never got the ball. So, if you're looking at that, and let's be frank, if they would have beat the Patriots in that overtime game to go to the Super Bowl, they would have absolutely destroyed the Rams in the Super Bowl because the Rams with Goff would not have been able to hang. So, we're talking about a coin toss from making 3 straight Super Bowls and winning probably 2 of those. 5-1? Yeah, I'm taking that. And I will take that. I will definitely bet that. So don't worry. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is.
Okay.
You know, obviously, when you look at the Super Bowl last year, the offensive line was a huge issue. They will literally have it likely 0 guys that started in the Super Bowl starting on the offensive line this year. That's how revamped. Like when Brett Veach attacks a position group to change it, like he did after Mahomes, when they lost in that AFC Championship game, they had one of the worst defenses in the league. What did they do? They went out and signed Tyrann Mathieu. They went out and signed Frank Clark. We can disregard Frank Clark for a little bit, but those two guys changed that defense from the worst perhaps the worst in the league to
one of the better,
a top 10 to 15 at least. Which is when Mahomes in that offense, that's all you need, right? Like you don't need a dominant defense, you just need a defense that can make stops. So now we have an offensive line. We have an offensive line. They signed a left tackle, or they traded for a left tackle in Orlando Brown, who was a Pro Bowler last year from the Ravens. Joe Thuney, they signed as a free agent, who's been a Pro Bowler at left guard with the Patriots. They drafted a center in the second round who's probably going to start, Creed Humphrey. They have depth at right guard, but actually I think another rookie's going to start in Trey Smith, a guy out of Tennessee who is out of their summer camps and whatnot, looked incredible and dominant. And then at right tackle, we'll see what happens there. It might be actually sort of another rookie. It might be it'll either be Mike Remmers, who did start at left tackle in the Super Bowl, or Lucas Niang, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year. He opted out for COVID last year, so we don't really know for sure what he's looking like, but he was dominant in his college career at Iowa State. So or I'm sorry, I said Iowa State. Texas Christian, TCU is where he went. TCU, dominant there. With an offensive line, I think the running game is going to be certainly better with Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year, and he'll be a little more out of the backfield. You obviously have the best wide receiver tight end combo in the game in Kelsey and Hill. If everyone stays healthy, like this team on defense just needs to be all right. I think the secondary will be pretty good. I worry about the edge, especially if Frank Clark can't get suspended or something like that. With obviously he has some legal issues with a weapons charge out in California, but this team's gonna be really, really good. I'd be shocked if they're not at least back in the AFC Championship game. So at 5-1, where I'm saying I'd be shocked if they're not one of the final 4 teams left, I think those are pretty good odds. Even though they're 5-1, they're the favorites right now.
So keep in mind, by the way, guys, should they make it, if it comes to fruition that they make it to the number 1 or number 2 seed in the AFC, it's going to be round plus 200 to win it all at that point. So get the value now, because for a fact there are going to be a top 2 seed in the AFC. 100%, I wouldn't bet against that. They're going to be top 2, and then you're not going to get any value to bet it.
As long as Mahomes stays on.
As long as
that's the only caveat.
Yeah.
Only caveat.
So would you rather get this at plus 500 right now, or plus 200 once they get to the playoffs and they're a 1 or 2 seed? Get it right now. Make that bet right now. Next one. Bills minus 154 to win AFC East. So again, this is a $10 bet to win $16.50, give or take. So you're getting a little bit of value here. Bills are the cream of the crop when it comes to this division. Obviously, they are on the up and ups in this division, and they are proving that Josh Allen is clearly the best signal caller in the AFC East. There's not even really a close second. Cam Newton is a shell of himself. Tua is going to get a little bit of time, but who knows what you're going to get there. And Zach Wilson's a rookie, so you don't know what that's going to look like. So will you be placing a bet on the Bills minus 154 to win the AFC East?
This seems like when you look at that division and what happened last year, and everyone feels like the Bills are an up-and-coming team. Like last year when they made the AFC Championship game, that was just the start of things. And this is a young team They're going to continue to progress. So what scares me about making this bet is everyone, I feel like, is on the Bills to win that division.
Yep.
So the fact that it's only minus 154 in Vegas makes me nervous and gives me pause. Like, I've learned, and people who haven't bet, I've learned, like, when odds don't seem right to you and they seem too good to be true, they probably are.
Yep.
And this one seems too good to be true for me. Like, all right, well, obviously injuries play a role, so injuries could happen to them. This is a team that obviously, prior to this past year, hasn't won the division in, centuries, because New England's owned that division. New England added a lot of pieces, plus got a lot of pieces back in COVID. I know they got quarterback issues, whether that's Cam Newton or Mac Jones, who they took in the first round. They just have to be, like, not terrible at quarterback, and I think they'll compete. We'll see what Tua can do with Miami. I think Buffalo is a better team than Miami, but and the Jets are still a year or two away, although I like the Jets moving forward. I think they got a good talent, but not this next season to win the division. So while I think if I had to pick, like, who do I think is going to win the division, I think the Bills will win the division. But at the same time, I'm not making that bet because I'm scared of it for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, it implies that the minus 154 favorite implies just better than 60% chance. So even that seems a little low. But, the Buffalo Bills won the division by 3 games last year, and the Bills should be even better this year. So it's pretty, I don't know, it feels like they're going to win. I don't know. I feel like the value is kind of there, but not, like, enough for me to, like, really bite at this one. I love what you said, though, about some things just seem a little fishy with betting sometimes, and you see some of the odds. We saw that in the Phoenix Suns series that went back. So that series in Phoenix was right, in the high single digits spread wise. I think for the most part of the series at home in Phoenix. Whereas when they went back this last game, we'll talk about this maybe more when we hit the Phoenix Suns Bucks Game 5, recap, whatever. But it was only 4.5 in this one, which was a completely different line than most of these other games. So everyone is saying, Phoenix, 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 but the line indicated that something was off with the fact that it was only 4.5 in Phoenix after it's been, like, in the high single digits earlier on in the series. So got to follow the trends, guys. Got to follow the trends and, go with, just keep an eye on some of these things. But next one here on the list, your second favorite team in the NFL, Dallas Cowboys, plus 110 to win the NFC East. So bet $10 to win 21 is kind of the standard here. You get your $10 back, plus you win 11 here. So you're getting plus 110 on a $100. On a $100 bet, you profit 110. Correct, yeah. So if the Cowboys can't win the division this year, obviously heads are going to roll. This is going to be a big-time year for them. Also, Dak Prescott coming back. He's in incredible shape from what everyone says to recover from that gruesome ankle injury that he had. At the time, Prescott was completing a career-best 68% of his passes, and he was on pace for more than 6,000 passing yards. So him coming back, I think, is going to be huge for Dallas. And if he can stay healthy, I think there could be a big-time value here in betting the Cowboys plus 110 to win the NFC East. Now, it's a 2-horse race between Dallas and Washington, which is their plus 260. Philadelphia and New York aren't really ready to win quite yet, based off of what Vegas is saying. So it's between Dallas and Washington. Scotty, would you bet plus 110 right now on the Dallas Cowboys to win the NFC East?
So, since they're my NFC team, based off some friendships I've had and started to appreciate their passion for the Cowboys, I've learned that, like, listen, when everyone hates this phrase if you're not a Cowboys fan, but Cowboys refer to themselves as America's team, right? And that actually is true, regardless of people hating it, because they are bet on more than any other team in football. So it's really, really hard to get good odds on betting on the Cowboys because it's always inflated the other way because there's so many bets they know that will land on Dallas side of things. With that said, I agree. I think it should come down. I think Philadelphia's likely to finish in the bottom of the division. New York needs Daniel Jones to be way better than he's been in order to be a player. And then you have Washington, who has a really, really good defense that I've talked about. And Ryan Fitzpatrick probably starting at quarterback, who I've talked about. I like Fitzmagic. I like long-term, of course not. But, like, Fitzmagic makes plays. He balls out some games. He'll have a few games where he looks terrible. But then he'll, for the most part, play really, really well. And he's a guy that can produce for you. Not a long-term guy, obviously, but... And I'd be really surprised. I mean, he's got to be the starter. It's not going to be Kyle Allen or Taylor Heineke. So I think they'll be battling. Dallas, listen, you referenced Dak Prescott was on pace to throw 6,000 yards. If he's on pace to throw 6,000 yards this year, that's a problem. That's not a good thing. That means their defense is really, really bad. And that's why he was having to do it last year. He was putting up tons of stats in the second half because the defense was straight garbage last year.
They gave up games that they shouldn't be giving up.
They were really, really bad. They still have a lot of question marks there. They definitely addressed and have some young talent, but again, it's young talent that probably is going to take a little time. Listen, that seems like a trap bet to me too. I feel like everyone's going to bet Dallas. I'm going to bet Dallas. I can't go against my Cowboys. I'm taking Dallas plus 110. I'm going to roll with it.
Do it.
And expect, I mean, that offense, if that offensive line can stay healthy, which is really important with Dak, and if Zeke decides to not fumble every time he has the ball this year, and then that wide receiver core is probably 1 through 3, the best wide receiver core in the NFL. So if they stay healthy, they should put up points. Dak needs to be, and Dan Orlovsky said that, Dak needs to be better against the good teams. He balls out and puts up tons of stats against the bad teams, and sometimes he doesn't produce as well against the better teams. So he needs to be better. Their offensive line needs to be better. They need to be better as a unit. It's not all just on Dak, but yeah, I'll take Cowboys.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that. I like that. The next one here on the list, Los Angeles Chargers to make the playoffs, plus 125. Now, this is an interesting one. Got an AFC West little division going on here. Now, the caveat is there's a lot of betting lines revolving around whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to come to Denver or not. Now, obviously, this is still kind of in the air, but plus 125 for the Los Angeles Chargers to make the playoffs. This price won't be available when Aaron Rodgers, if he doesn't, come to Denver. So, if it's true that Aaron Rodgers won't come, which it's pretty likely, from every report I've seen, it's starting to get more and more unlikely. It's maybe potential next season. Who knows? But at this point, once it's officially off the table that he's not leaving Green Bay, you're not going to get plus 125 for the Chargers to make the playoffs at that point, right? The Broncos drop a little bit further down the totem pole. Maybe not as low as the Raiders, but you're getting value right now on the LA Chargers. So, Scotty, would you bet plus 125? So bet 10 to win $22.50 on the Chargers to make the playoffs right now.
So obviously this year is going to be different because we have an additional playoff team, right? Did they have that last year? Now I'm drawing a blank. But they had it last year too. So instead of 6 teams making the playoffs in both conferences, this year and last year, 7 teams are now making it. So that makes a difference for sure. I have a hard time doing this because as a Chiefs fan, every offseason, I literally read an article, and it's not about Denver. It's never about Oakland.
Las Vegas.
It's always about the Chargers and how they will be the team to beat in the AFC West this year. I literally read that every season. And guess what? The Chiefs have won 5 straight division titles. Guess what? Before that, Denver won 5 straight division titles. The Chargers haven't won a division title since 2009. Like, and listen, they have talent, no doubt about it. Obviously, they have an up and coming quarterback in Herbert, who balled out last year. But I have question marks. I think there's going to be a sophomore slump this year. I actually think Herbert's going to play worse this year than last year.
Okay.
I'll say that right now. I think he'll be worse this year than last year. I think they're going to throw more things at him as far as like offensive game plan wise, like playbook wise, and also teams will start to figure out what he likes to do a little bit more. And I think moving forward after this next year, world of talent, going to be really, really good. But this next year, I think he's going to struggle a little bit.
He's not sneaking up on everybody anymore.
And the Chargers, more than any other team, seem to hit the injury bug prior to the season starting every year. There's about 4 guys that are impact players that get hurt and are out for season before they play a game. It seems like every year. Derwin James, obviously, they're like Pro Bowl elite safety, can never stay healthy. I have questions about their defense. They lost their D coordinator, or well, let him go, and are obviously and have a new head coach as well. So we'll see what that like. Everyone wanted to blame Anthony Lynn, and granted they had a ton of leads in games and fell flat down the stretch, and maybe that was Anthony Lynn, but I just don't trust the Chargers, so I'm not betting the Chargers. No,
not betting the Chargers to make it. Okay, there it is. It's official. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I like your take on the sophomore slump. You know, I mean, everyone's talking up Herbert. Everyone's like, the hype. It's kind of like when you never have gone to In-N-Out, and then all of a sudden you go, and it's like, you just, it's good. It's not like what everyone hyped it up to be. Maybe that's what we're going to be seeing here with Justin Herbert in the Chargers. Who knows?
Just so I can reference Mahomes one more time. I don't know if you saw, but when he was in this the celebrity golf tournament the other week, like a week ago, some patron, some fan in the stand or from the crowd, because this was out in California, was yelling something about Herbert beating him this year, and he basically yelled back, "I'll believe it when I see it." And that went all over the internet, and people were like freaking out. He's like, "Oh, you took it out of context." I'm like, "No, you didn't. You took it out of context because he had had a few beers and he actually said what he thought." But it's true. Like, Mahomes has no reason to fear the Chargers. No.
I mean, the Chargers need to get some fans first, right?
What's even crazier? Yeah, for sure, fans. Sorry, to follow that up though, then the Chargers Twitter, actual official Twitter account posted, here's how you believe, and they posted highlights of Herbert against the Chiefs last year in week 17 when the Chiefs were playing their third string defense, which is almost even more embarrassing. Like, the Chiefs had already clinched, had nothing to play for. We're playing like, they had their D tackle literally playing Mike linebacker. Like, no joke. In fact, that guy commented on Twitter. He's like, "You guys are actually gonna throw out highlights from a game where I was playing Mike?" Like, so, like, not a great look for them.
Fading the Chargers. You heard it. You hear it right here on the Action Lab.
I am so ready for NFL.
Oh man, we're getting closer and closer, guys. If you're not following the Action Lab, NFL is when we turn things up even hotter. So make sure you're hitting that follow button so you can get all the ins and outs on betting lines, on all the best matchups of each weekend. We do all of it. So every single week we preview, we go into best bets, we go into our best bets on what we think is going to happen. We want yours as well. So we have a lot of fun. We'll do some fantasy football stuff this year coming up as well, Scotty. We're going to have a lot of fun. So if you're here, hit that follow button so you get all those notifications when we go live, and we love to have more of you guys in on the Action Lab family. So, last one.
We spent way too much time on this wheel, and that's because if you love the NFL like I do, hop on board.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's get ready, because I can talk about the NFL for days.
Yes. We are all over it. So, last one here. Miami Dolphins to win fewer than 9.5 games, under 9.5. It's minus 150, so a bet of $10 to win $16.67 total. So this one, let's be real. Again, Miami Dolphins, surprise 2020, mostly happened because the Patriots were a train wreck. Now, Tom Brady's out of the division. Now, you have just a kind of a weird division here. And so, Scotty, under 9.5 games for the Miami Dolphins, minus 150.
You look at the Dolphins, everyone also thinks they're an up-and-coming team. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with that, but I am concerned about their quarterback. I don't trust Tua that much. I think he's pretty basic in what he can do. He fully admitted he didn't know the playbook last year, and I'm just like, really? Like they invested.
You have one job.
The number. What did they have? Like the number 3 overall pick in the draft. They invested in you, and you're not gonna figure out the playbook that well enough. So they have to sit there and move back and forth between you and Fitzpatrick because they can't run things with you that they can with Fitz, who, by the way, was also in his first year in Miami. So it's not like he also had to learn the playbook. Granted, he's been in the NFL a lot longer, so it's probably easier, but still. I think the AFC East is going to be stronger this year. I think the Jets are going to be a much improved team. I think, obviously, the Bills are really good. I think the Patriots are going to be much better than they were last year. So that's going to be tough. And now I got to look at what divisions they have to play. I believe it looks like they play the NFC East and AFC South. So I don't know who they played last year. NFC East isn't isn't like a gauntlet, obviously, when you look at Cowboys, Redskins. So in AFC South, you get to play the Texans. So that's good news, unless Deshaun somehow ends up playing.
Probably not.
But otherwise, the AFC South. Oh well, Jacksonville's not going to be great this year, but the other two are good. So I'm not big on the Dolphins this year, but I don't know that their schedule's that difficult either. So this one's tough for me. This one's a toss-up. I don't have a strong feeling either way. I guess because ultimately I'm not that high on the Dolphins, I would agree and take the under.
Yep. Under is probably the way I would go. I mean, can you imagine if I were to say, hey, Dolphins are going to win 10 games this year, you'll probably think I was crazy.
No, well, keep in mind it's 17 games for the first time ever, so they just have to go 10-7. Everything's different this year.
Still,
17 games. I think 10-7 is probably the problem. Is 10-7 is their peak.
Yeah,
I don't think 11-6 is a thing. So I think 10-7 is their best option. Like if everything goes pretty well, if they could go 10-7, that wouldn't shock me. 11-6 or better would shock me.
Yeah.
So that means take the under.
Take the under. There it is. All right. There you have it. We have 5 bets here. So we have Miami under 9.5. We have the Los Angeles Chargers to make the playoffs plus 125. We're not making that bet. We have the Cowboys plus 110. We like that one. We have the Bills minus 154. You don't like it to win the AFC East.
I do. I'm just scared of. I feel like the odds should be. I feel like the odds are too good.
Yeah. Too good to be true. And then Chiefs plus 500, which you're all over. So there you have it. We are going to have more and more betting closer to the NFL season as we get there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get back to the wheel, though. We have a lot to get to. Let's not stop the train here. Let's roll it through. Oh, Gold Cup. Gold Cup. Okay, guys. So we have the Gold Cup that is in full swing right now. Now, U.S. men's national team was in action today, and they ended up getting a 1-0 win against Canada in this one. Now, the Americans scored the fastest goal in team history to win this Group B in the CONCACAF Gold Cup. They scored with 20 seconds into the game. It was insane. If you go back and watch the replay, what a start for the men's national team. And then they ended up coasting the rest of the way for a 1-0 win. But as far as that goes, record break can go by Shaq Moore, the team's 11th straight win. So USA's on a roll right now. They're looking great. It's fun to see them having a lot of fun playing some soccer, right? Because we haven't had a lot of success in big, tournaments nationally, especially going to last World Cup, which didn't really exist in the first place for the U.S. team. Just embarrassing. But right now, the U.S. is in the driver's seat for the Gold Cup in their group, and they're off and running. So right now they have 9 points. Canada's the second team that is going to be locked in Group B with 6 points, and then Haiti and Martinique are on the bottom of this table right here. So, U.S. men's national team, big win, keeping it rolling. Scotty, good stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, with this Gold Cup, people should understand that this is like a B or C team for the U.S. They don't have all their top players, which is normal at a Gold Cup. Not that this tournament doesn't mean anything, because it does, but generally, this isn't a tournament where they pull some of those guys that have, especially the guys in Europe that have requirements with, their club teams. They don't pull them away. U.S., won their first two as they should, and then Canada, who is also 2-0 going into the game today. And this Canada team, usually when you talk Canada, you're not looking at a strong, soccer team. But this Canada team, especially with a B or C U.S. team and a young Canada team, is no joke. And actually, they had more possession today. They had more shots on goal than the U.S. did. Part of that is because the U.S. got a quick, obviously in the 20 seconds, 1-0 lead, which changes the game quite a bit, where they sit back a little more and try and rest on that. U.S. did what they had to do. Moving on, gonna make the quarterfinals. We'll see who they match up with. I believe they'll play. The quarterfinals are next Saturday and Sunday, so I believe they'll be on Saturday based off of, the fact that some of these games haven't been decided yet, and they already have. Them and Mexico are still the favorites in this whole thing. Although Mexico finished second in their group, Group A, they had 1 win and 2 draws. So El Salvador actually comes out on top in that one. We'll see who comes out. The bottom two, Costa Rica and Jamaica, play each other in Group C. They're going to both advance because they're both 2-0. So, and then Honduras is going to make it out of Group D, and then we'll see who else makes it between Qatar or Panama. So, listen, this is not the most important tournament in the world, but I love international soccer and tournament styles like this. So I'm going to be excited to watch the U.S. and see what they can do. Some of these younger guys, without some of the top talent that they have, that are also young, ironically. So we've talked about it. This is an up-and-coming U.S. team. I'm excited to see where they move, especially with, qualifying is going to be really important later this year for the World Cup, which is next year for the men. So we missed the last World Cup. I'm gonna have like a mental breakdown if they don't make it.
If they don't make it, it's gonna be a shit show.
So much worse than 4 years ago, because this team is more talented by far. Not the Gold Cup team, but the U.S. national team in general has more talent on the roster. Granted, some of it's young and inexperienced, but than they've had in a long time. So I love World Cups. Obviously we talked about the Euro Cup a lot. I just love international soccer. Appreciate it. So I'm going to enjoy this Gold Cup. I'm going to enjoy qualifying, and we'll see what happens. I fully expect the U.S. to hopefully at least make the final here.
And keep in mind, too, this is a young team that we've been starving in the United States for young talent. Depth is the biggest thing that we've always been looking for. Well, the fact that we have guys coming up on this B team, so to speak, that, Busio, Sands, Shaq Moore, all these guys, that's a good thing for if you're a USA fan that you have to be excited about, because these guys are going to be filling in as they develop further and get better and better on that men's national team. So keep an eye on those guys while they're developing now, so you can, have a chance to get those guys really revved up once they get to that men's national team, rocking and rolling potentially for the World Cup. I mean, these guys are maybe on that roster. Who knows? But
I mean, you talked about Busio, who's, I believe he's 19 years old, and just actually after 2 games in this tournament playing, he was with Sporting KC in the MLS, and he's I believe they've agreed to a deal where he's headed to Europe for around $11 million to a Serie A team in Italy, Venezia FC. So he's no joke. And actually, Berhalter, the coach for the U.S., was like, I had no idea how good. He was like, I didn't believe how good Busio was until I started working with him. Like, here's a 19-year-old that's up and coming. There's so many guys. That are moving to Europe like we haven't had before. So if you're into soccer and you're into international play and the US, like, listen, I'm not saying we're not on the level still of a lot of teams, but is this the most optimistic we should be moving forward as far as the young talent we have? Absolutely. Like, we have way more young talent and they all seem to be merging at the same time, which is good. Where our peak probably won't be this next World Cup. It'll be certainly the World Cup after, which will actually be played in the U.S., which also will help, and that should be an exciting one. But either way, get excited about these young kids. Get excited about soccer. If you're not into soccer, figure it out, because it's a lot of fun to watch.
Figure it out, guys. Let's go. No, it's going to be a great time. So keep your eye on this one, especially as it gets to the later stages, for sure. Yep. Let's spin it again. Let's roll. Let's get it back in. All right. Major League Baseball. Let's go. Now, we just completed the All-Star break. We're getting back in the swing of things. I got my All-Star banner up there from this last All-Star game. Thank you to the Rockies and Scott's team for just throwing out some sweet prizes to all the fans going to the games. Yeah, pretty cool. I didn't know what that was. It was like a rally towel, so yeah.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't the best. They actually gave out like a bucket hat on the Sunday.
Oh,
kind of cool. Yeah, I know you and your father-in-law would have loved the bucket hat. Hey, listen, we got some bucket hats extra. I'm going to get you guys one.
Yeah, there we go. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's my man right there. I always love me a good bucket hat. So, but I want to dive into some MLB news. Now, there's been some crazy news, obviously, with some of the unfortunate events happening in the Washington game the other night. I believe it was Washington and San Diego.
San Diego.
With some shooting outside the stadium. So, obviously that's prayers out to all those people who are part of that. I guess that was just a crazy situation for the players and the fans. But I want to go on a high note here, because this is going to be the second half of the season. And I want to go into the top storylines in what we're looking out for the rest of the way, because there's a lot going on in Major League Baseball. So, Scotty, you hit a couple ones. I'll hit a couple ones. Now, my first one I want to hit up is my hometown Rockies. One of the bigger storylines is, as we approach the trade deadline, what's going to happen with Trevor Story and what kind of deal the Rockies are going to make for him should he get moved, which we all are pretty good. We all have a pretty good idea that he will, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. Things change, right? So that's a storyline that is kind of like, it's a juicy one, at least for us here in Colorado, of what's going to happen on that one. So my number one storyline is not only that one, but just all the moves. We're accustomed to the NBA and the NFL free agency, all those really being exciting in the offseason, but the Major League Baseball trade deadline this year, I think, is going to be pretty interesting. So that's going to be my first one, is seeing all the moves that going to be made across the league, especially here in Colorado.
Yeah, as far as the Trevor Story deal, it's actually a bad situation for Colorado. There's not a lot of teams that are in the mix that need.
Yep, we've talked about this quite a bit.
We've talked about that, and that's a problem. So their interim GM, based off of they fired, or well, I don't know if it was a fire or mutual agreement or whatever it was. Obviously, they parted ways with their GM midseason. Bill Schmidt took over, who was in charge of more of their drafting and stuff like that. Prior to that, came out in an interview just in the last couple of days saying, hey, we're not just gonna, if a deal makes sense, we'll make it, but we could also hold on to Trevor, which is true. If they hold on to Trevor and they offer him, what happens if he becomes a free agent? They offer him a 1-year contract that he will inevitably turn down, but based off the money he'll get from another team, they'll basically get a pick in between the first and second round. Likely the first pick after the end of the first round next year if they lose him to another team. So someone has to beat that offer, right? And then you look at it and you're like, nah, that's not like a crazy deal to beat when you're getting Trevor Story. But I don't know. These teams don't necessarily need Trevor. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Maybe he's just posturing. I have no inside info. I don't know. What'll happen? Does it make sense to trade him? Yes, but only if the deal's right, because it is true that they'll get something regardless. They're gonna get the number 31 overall pick or something in the MLB draft next year if they don't trade Trevor and he leaves for someone else. So that's not nothing, especially in the MLB where obviously they have a bunch of rounds in the draft and there's a lot of talent to go around. So, and you have a large roster side. So we'll see on what happens with Trevor Story. As far as there's individual storylines and there's team storylines moving in the second half. Starting with individual, talking about the stars, Ohtani, is he gonna he's on pace, he's not quite on pace to hit 60, but can he get to 60?
Yeah, it's a great storyline.
We got a triple crown threat with the MVP of the All-Star game, Vlad Guerrero Jr. Fernando Tatis is a stud, and unfortunately DeGrom, who's the best pitcher in baseball, and it's not close for your number 2 team, the Mets, just went on the IL with forearm tightness, because he would be a huge storyline moving forward. Team wise, what happens with the Yankees? The Yankees are an interesting storyline because they're not in a good spot right now. So what do they do at the trade deadline? Do they try and go for it? They've had a lot of injuries, but so has everyone else. So they have a lot of pressure on them. And now they got hit with the COVID bug to start the second half of the year. They don't have a good chance. Their chance of making the playoffs is less than 50 in my mind. Competitive divisions, do the Astros hang on the AL West? NL West, we have 3 really good teams, and certainly 2 right now at the top with, shockingly, the Giants. I don't understand the Giants. I'll never understand why the Giants are there. Can they hold on against the Dodgers? I'd be shocked if they do. I think the Dodgers end up winning that division. I don't even know how the Giants are winning games, to be honest. I really, really don't. Because last year, I thought the Giants were one of the worst teams in baseball. And then I thought they overachieved last year. And they have the best record in baseball. And I cannot figure it out. So there's some storylines there. Obviously, baseball, the regular season, people are oh, it doesn't mean anything because you play 162 games. But I'm also it means a lot because far fewer teams make it, right? Yep. Unless you win your division, you're one of 2 wild cards and you're playing a 1-game battle to make the playoffs. Not a lot of teams make it. So it'll be a fight down to the stretch, and we'll see what happens. But I'm just happy the Rockies finally, they won against the Dodgers on opening day this year, and then had lost 8 straight before pulling out an extra innings win today on a Charlie Blackmon walk-off home run in extra innings.
There you have it.
Now they're 2-8 against the Dodgers. So let's go.
Yeah, no, I love all your storylines. You actually had a couple of mine that I was looking for, especially the Ohtani and Trout, Mike Trout. Seeing those guys together making some noise for the Angels, and just watching those two. Watching those two talents on one team is insane. But I also had the Mets, and they're my number 2 team. My number 1, number 2 teams don't usually overachieve very often together or by themselves, but my biggest question for them is, do they have enough to lock up that NL East? Is it locked up, or are there going to be teams that are going to make a run, coming up here soon? The Nationals, right there too. So I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with them? But
Phillies, Braves, there's a lot of competition in the.
It's a big division. So we'll see how that ends up panning out. But yeah, lots of things to talk about, lots of things to keep an eye on as you're watching some Major League Baseball. So if you got a team in the hunt, this is the time to keep an eye on what's going on around the league, what's going on with your team, and get them rolling. I wish Mayday was here to talk about some Phillies. He would be giving me a lot of crap right now about these Mets, but.
The crazy thing with the NL is that it looks like East and Central, you have to win a division to get in.
Yep.
And then the West is probably going to get, right now it looks like they're going to get the division winner and 2 wild cards. So we're talking 3 teams from the West and then 1 from the Central and East in the NL as it stands right now. Like, things could change. It's not like the Potters are that far in front, but right now the NL West it's either dominant or the 2 teams at the bottom are bad enough. I mean, the Diamondbacks are really, really bad. Obviously, the Rockies are not great, but they're hanging in there at least at 41-53. So,
lot of stuff going on in Major League Baseball. So make sure you're keeping tabs. But let's spin the wheel. Let's see what else we got here. If we keep landing on the same ones, we'll delete a couple and get through it. But looks like we might. No, not quite. Let's spin again. Spin again. We already talked some Gold Cup. If you missed out on the Gold Cup talks.
Since I predicted that Space Jam would be the first thing we landed on, I'm going to assume it's going to be the last.
All right. This one is kind of a big deal as of the last couple days. So we have a new team joining the NHL, and that's the Seattle Kraken. Now, with that comes an expansion draft, and that is kind of a big deal when it comes to players and teams gearing up for who's going to be made available for the draft and who's not going to be made available for the draft. Protected. So, Scotty, I believe, a little bit ago we were taking a look at some of the rules here because we were looking at Gabriel Landeskog, who's a hometown Colorado Avalanche player who's on our top line. He's one of the best players that we got on our roster. And captain. He is not protected by the Colorado Avalanche. He is an unrestricted free agent, which makes it part of it. But, Scotty, help us out with some of these, ins and outs. And then we're going to dive into some of the bigger names across the league that were made available for the Seattle Kraken to choose from in this expansion draft coming up.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules to this. Basically, every team's going to lose a player to the Seattle Kraken in this expansion draft, which takes place this upcoming Wednesday. And when I say every team, it's every team but Las Vegas, who was an expansion team several years ago. And you look at expansion teams normally in a lot of sports, and you're like, that team's going to struggle for a long time. Obviously, we've talked about how that hasn't been anywhere near the case for Vegas. They've been one of the dominant teams in the NHL from the moment they took the ice. So they're, obviously a really, really good team. And the reason they're not in this is their owner actually struck a deal with the NHL when he negotiated for their franchise to not be a part of this, which is good for them that they don't lose a player. The bad news is they aren't included in every time there's an expansion team that joins in any sport. There's a fee that gets distributed throughout all the teams in that league, right? So Seattle has to pay a $650 million expansion fee that's spread across all the NHL teams except Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is missing out on almost $22 million that their owner could have made in exchange for one player. So at this point, he might regret the deal he negotiated.
Yeah, I would say so.
But he probably has enough money where he's like, what's 22 million?
I mean,
Anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, the rules are every team gets the ability to protect certain players on their team. They have two options. They can protect, and this is what almost all the teams did. I think there were 4 that went the other alternative route, but basically you can protect 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goaltender. The other option is you just protect 8 skaters. So it doesn't include, it doesn't matter what position, but you only get to protect 8 guys compared to in the other situation you're protecting 11. So there were 4 teams, including Tampa Bay, obviously back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, who elected to go the 8 skater route in order to protect, and you also get 1 goaltender with the 8 skaters. So it's really 8 versus 10. But 4 teams elected just to go 8 skaters because they wanted to protect an extra defenseman. The Avs probably thought about that and ended up actually trading this week Ryan Graves, who was a defenseman they either had to protect or he was probably going to get taken by the Kraken. A young, really, really good defenseman, but also probably our 4th best defenseman, and you can only protect 3 unless you move to that 8 skater route, which they didn't obviously want to do. We talked about, obviously, you talked about Landeskog. So unrestricted free agents are weird that if they're not protected, the Kraken can now negotiate with them, and if they agree to a deal prior to Wednesday, that can be the pick. If they have not agreed to a deal, that cannot be the pick.
Yep.
And they can, once again, negotiate with them when the free agency period starts. So it'll be really interesting, especially when you've seen how good Vegas has fared based off theirs. But all the rules stay the same. Like, the Kraken have to select 14 forwards and 9 defensemen. They have to follow salary cap, so it's not like they can just pick whoever they want regardless of salary cap. So it'll be really, really interesting to see, who they choose, what's going to happen. Obviously Marc-Andre Fleury, the goaltender for Vegas, he was an expansion draft pick that wasn't left protected by Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden here he is on Vegas and dominating there after winning Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh. So there's game changers out there. It's really, really hard to protect all the guys, especially on some of these teams that are either really talented or have a lot of incoming talent. So it's going to be interesting to see. Question in the chat. Yeah, Deb and chat, go ahead.
Does each team pick who goes?
No. Each team gets to protect.
Keep rolling on that, Scotty.
Yeah. So each team gets to protect, as I mentioned, a certain amount of players on their team. Most teams have elected to protect, I believe it's 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie is the general thing. So outside of that and any free agents that you have, everyone else on your roster is available, and 1 guy from your roster will be picked because every roster, 1 guy gets plucked from that team. With the Avs, I've heard like Jonas Donskoy, the guy they didn't protect, might be a guy unless they can find a way to come to terms with Landeskog, who's a unrestricted free agent in the meantime. But no, the team itself does not pick. It's the expansion Seattle Kraken general managers and front office that get to choose any player from each team that's left unprotected while following the guidelines of having a certain amount of forwards, defensemen, and goalies, and also following salary cap restrictions.
And Ron Francis with the Kraken has so he has the green light from ownership to spend about $81.5 million on the cap. And must select players making at least $48.9 million in this draft, but protecting available space is an advantage that they can maintain over most of the league for months and years to come. So there's a lot of salary cap aspects to this that go into these decisions when it comes to they just can't pick everybody that they want. They have to be very mindful of what these players are currently making and especially with Landeskog, if they decide to negotiate with him. And from what it sounds like, the Avalanche haven't really been close on negotiations with him because of what he's wanting to make for the upcoming seasons.
And I'll quietly say I'm totally fine with them not re-signing him. I don't want to overpay for Landeskog,
No.
who I think is a leader, no doubt, but played on. I think of the line he was on, he was the third most important player on the as far as I think Rantanen and certainly oh my gosh, who's our stud? I'm drawing a blank on our better players.
McKinnon. Yeah.
McKinnon and Rantanen to me are far more skilled players than Landeskog, who's a little more. He's not the skill guy. He's a leader, plus he has a lot of physicality to him and some skill, no doubt. But I don't want to overpay for him, to be honest.
Yeah. So just a list of some of these other players that have popped up that are notable players include. Let me pull up this list here. I believe we have. All right, so we have Carey Price, 5-year. He's currently on a contract, 33 years old, 5-year contract, $10.5 million. So, as far as this one, he's kind of a bigger name. He has some connections to Washington State, so as far as that situation, he's gonna potentially be available. And he's with the Canadians.
Obviously, just made a Stanley Cup run,
Yep.
So
big name there. Obviously, Gabriel Landeskog, who's an unrestricted free agent. Where we told you the caveat with him. Ryan Johansson is another one, and that one's kind of a bigger one. It's kind of intriguing that Nashville exposed both Johansson and Matt Duchene. Douche, former Av, while protecting 5 defensemen. So Johansson's production has been heading into the wrong direction in the last couple of seasons, but he's still a big, experienced center with ties to the region after growing up in Vancouver. So he would be kind of at home, staying there. He's only 28 years old, so he's still got a little bit left in him. You got Yanni Gourde. So Tampa Bay Lightning have a lot of players. Obviously, they won the Stanley Cup, and they have a lot of really good players to protect, and he was one of the casualties in being unprotected there. So 29 years old. He's on a 4-year, $5.16 million contract. Jared McCann, Jake Bean, Dylan DeMello. Just a few other big names that are intriguing that were left open. So, yeah, just keep an eye on that one. We'll keep an eye on what happens with Landeskog. I think that'll be an interesting one here locally to keep tabs on. But again, I'm not super concerned about the Avalanche only because their front office has been making some really solid moves. I like what they did in the move this past week. I feel like they got a lot of value back, and Joe Sakic has established himself as a guy who can really make good moves that pan out for the betterment of the team. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with this Seattle Kraken team and how they end up panning out moving forward. So, all right, let's get back to the wheel, though. Anything else on that one, Scotty, before we wrap up the expansion draft?
No, not really. Honestly, it'll be interesting with who ends up going from the Avs. My prediction is Jonas Donskoy, forward. Nice young talent, cheap for the Seattle Kraken, and will be a loss for the Avs. But listen, every team's going to lose a guy. So it's the reality of adding an expansion franchise. There's nothing you can do, and the Avs will be still one of, if not the most talented teams in the NHL next season. So we'll be all right.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to it. If we keep landing on the same thing, we'll just delete some of these, but... Ooh, all right, we go. Okay, so... Bucks Suns. Now, we had a big Game 5 the other night, and it was fantastic. I don't know. Did you catch some of that game, Scotty?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it was a fun one to watch. Now, Bucks Suns has been one of the most interesting finals I can remember, based off of the fact that, typically we're used to seeing Golden State or, any kind of LeBron variation of any team or whatever. So this finals has really given us a look into a couple teams that, we might not normally be used to seeing match up in the finals. And it's making for an interesting matchup. So obviously Phoenix Suns came into this series the favorite to win it all, top to bottom. I hesitantly picked the Bucks going into this series. I was like, you know what? I know the Phoenix Suns are favored, and I would want to pick them. However, I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks have a really, really great shot as long as Giannis is healthy. Now, we're cruising into this series. Phoenix Suns go up 2-0 quick at home, which they should be doing, right? That's what the Phoenix Suns need to do to take care of business at home. They did that. The series shifts back to Milwaukee, and things change drastically. So, at this point, the Phoenix Suns lose 2 straight games in Milwaukee, find themselves 2-2 coming back home to Phoenix, and you have a big upset that happens in Game 5, where Milwaukee Bucks take Game 5, 123-119. Now, this puts the Milwaukee Bucks in the driver's seat for the rest of this series because they get to go home and challenge for they could win this all at home, which, if you were to ask me if this would be a 4-2 series, I would have told you in favor of the Bucks. I would have told you you're crazy. The Suns will compete, and eventually, they could outplay the Bucks at some positions. But I did say the Bucks do match up well defensively with certain matchups on the court, and coaching has been huge for the Bucks throughout their playoff run. They have been making adjustments series by series whenever they've been challenged, whether that's the Hawks or the Suns or whoever they've played along this stretch. They've made adjustments, and that's what I think is going to be the difference in this series. Is Milwaukee wins this, you got to put a lot of it on the coaching staff, but they've been able to shut down Chris Paul. Chris Paul in Game 4 had so many turnovers. They were going to correct that coming hopefully back to Game 5, and it didn't happen. But now you're looking at the Bucks up 3-2 in this series, and again, could possibly win this NBA Finals at home coming up here in Game 6.
Yeah, obviously there was a lot of nerves throughout NBA fans probably when they saw the NBA Final matchup of the Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee Bucks. Not exactly the top franchises in the league, not your normal name players, obviously. They have Giannis, who's won 2 straight MVPs prior to this year. So there is name players there. Chris Paul, obviously legendary. Devin Booker up and coming. But we're learning about new guys, obviously. Chris Middleton hit all the big shots down the stretch. Like, when you look at this game, my point ultimately is you take the names off the jersey in this Game 5. This Game 5 was one of the best game played from an offensive standpoint in general in an NBA Finals in a long time. Like, these teams showed up and played phenomenally. Like, Milwaukee got a ton from their top 3 guys. Their top 3 guys carried them and played better than as a group they played at any point, maybe all season. Giannis, 32. Middleton, 29. Holiday, 27, plus obviously the big strip and steal at the end of the game and alley-oop to Giannis. The Phoenix played really well. Phoenix they only took 19 threes, which is crazy low for them, kind of weird. Made 13 of them, 68% from 3. They shot 55% from the field. The Bucks shot 57.5% from the field. This was just a really well played game by both teams, which was a lot of fun to watch. It looked like early on the Suns were in control. The first half was a game of runs back and forth. Then Milwaukee was all of a sudden up at half. They went on an 8-0 run without Giannis in the first half, which was crazy. And then they looked to be in control in the fourth quarter, up 14, and all of a sudden before we knew it, the Phoenix Suns had the ball with under 30, under half a minute to go, down 1. And Booker drove, tried to turn around, got stripped by Holiday. Holiday threw the alley-oop to Giannis. Paul fouled him. He missed. They got the rebound and got fouled again. The rest is history. So, huge win by the Bucks. Both these teams, honestly, deserve to win Game 5. Neither of these teams played poorly in Game 5. Game 6 should be a lot of fun. We'll see what happens. I hope it's played at the level that Game 5 was. The only problem with Game 5 is that they kept showing LeBron in the stands. He was like, I'm here for Chris Paul. And I'm like, shut up. You're here for yourself. Your movie just got released, and you're here for yourself.
And he's here. By the way, did you see? I don't know if it was a Photoshopped thing. It might be. It might not be. There's a bottle of tequila sitting under his seat. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see that.
He is part owner of with a couple other athletes that I don't know how he was able to get a bottle of tequila sitting underneath his seat, but he somehow got that in and was able to put that down there. I have a feeling he knew what he was doing with that. Anyways, I digress. But he just...
No, that's a story.
He just does whatever he wants to do at this. Who else do you know that could bring in a bottle of liquor, a glass bottle of tequila, and just sit it underneath your seat and just chill at a basketball game? You get all that special treatment, I guess, in your...
Did you see... Wait, so I was always confused. So you saw that Adele was at the game, right?
I did, yes.
Okay. I did not know until I just pulled up an article that Adele is reportedly dating LeBron's agent.
You mean, what's his name?
Rich Paul.
Rich Paul? No way. What?
Reportedly, according to this USA Today article,
way. What?
Adele is reportedly dating LeBron's agent, Rich Paul. So that's something.
What is that? What is that? That's a weird couple right there. I would never, if you would have told me two people that were together, that you just had like a multiple choice, and that was one of them, I would have been like, that's the last one I would have chosen. Weird.
By the way, the investors in this tequila, which is supposedly, for everyone out there, Lobos 1707, LeBron James, Rich Paul, Maverick Carter, who I don't even know who that is, Anthony Davis, and Draymond Green. There's not a tequila I want to drink less.
I mean, you're going up against a major, like The Rock has his Terramana tequila, like setting records in the hard alcohol industry. Like, hey, if you want to go up against The Rock, good luck. You're gonna have an uphill battle. But
there was a writer on Twitter that was like, they let LeBron bring in his own bottle of tequila, and then referenced who was part of the brand. And LeBron responded to it. He's like, "They let me?" ? And I'm like, what's the question there? Yes. Most people aren't allowed to bring their own bottle of booze into the arena.
That's not a thing.
You clearly had it under your seat. So yes, LeBron, they let you bring it in. You're not the king of the fucking arena, LeBron.
It's ridiculous,
so
man.
Yes, they let you bring it in. It's not like, oh man, I hate the guy. I hate him. I hate him.
Let's get back to the Suns, who are the bigger story here. And that's, again, you have Chris Middleton had 29 points, Holiday had 27, Giannis had 32, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. The Bucks can win their first title since 1971 in coming up here. Now, Booker had his second straight 40-point game, rallying down, just trying to get them back into this game. Couldn't quite do it, but yeah, this is a crazy one. I think this is a fun series. It's a lot more fun than I would have expected. I'm glad the Bucks are in this, not as opposed to the Atlanta Hawks, who we were at one point thinking it was gonna be, and eventually, luckily we got this matchup here, which has been a lot of fun to keep tabs on. Now, we'll see what happens in the next game. I think it's gonna be a big one. Any predictions?
Well, it is a big one.
Any predictions?
I'm going to throw you for a loop right now. We're going to make a bet. You haven't even agreed to it. You don't even know what it is. I'm going to let you go first, though, and I'll pick differently than you. Okay? Here's the bet. Here are your three options. And it's the only options in the series. You can take Bucks in 6, Bucks in 7, or Suns in 7. And if you're right on your pick, I gotta chug a beer after the series. If I'm right on my pick, you chug a beer. Obviously, there's 3 options, so there's an option where neither of us on screen chug a beer, but hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully someone loses this bet, but I'm gonna give you first pick.
Initially in this matchup, especially right when this ended, I thought to myself, I thought it was gonna go to Game 7. That was kind of my initial thoughts. Now, right after this game ended, 123 to 119, Game 5, I said Phoenix Suns will win the next one at home, or on the road, and then the Bucks will win in Phoenix. But the way the Bucks have turned this around, they've won 3 straight. They got to win 4 straight against a good Phoenix team. But here's the thing. Pressure, I feel like, is on Phoenix at this point. They've never been in this kind of a situation, this playoffs, where they've been down in a series. Pressure's on them to win. They're in a hostile environment in Milwaukee. Milwaukee wants this one. And the coaching has really been on point when it comes to Milwaukee making the bet. They're playing better. They figured out how to defend some of the things that they couldn't defend in the first couple games. So I'm gonna say Bucks in 6.
Bucks in 6. Okay.
It's either Bucks in 6 or Bucks in 7. It's not gonna be Phoenix in 7. I know that.
Are you trying to steer me in my pick? Because if the Bucks lose Game 6, which at this point, for me to win, that has to happen.
Yep.
We're headed back to Phoenix, and now who's the pressure on? The Bucks were on their home court with a chance to win the NBA title. Didn't come through, like you're predicting, and now have to go back to Phoenix for a Game 7 on a court. Yes, they won yesterday, but they also were up 1. And first of all, they played out of their minds. Their top 3 played better than they've played in any game throughout this playoffs, and I don't think they can replicate that. All right.
So what are you going with?
You promised me it's going to be Bucks in 6 or Bucks in 7. I picked the Suns to win this series. I picked them to win the NBA title a while ago. I'm taking Suns in 7. Let's go.
Oh man.
2 straight from Phoenix.
Oh
Let's
man.
go. And I don't even know if I actually think I might like the personalities and individuals on Milwaukee more, but I'm at this point I'm sold. I'm too. It's too late in the game. I'm on Phoenix. And obviously, there's been a ton of like stories about how Giannis and in like interviews where he's like seems like a really good guy. People are talking about him being one of the top NBA players. I won't jump on that sinking ship. Like, I'm sorry, top NBA players of all time. Sorry, I didn't say of all time.
Diacle in chat, Bucks in 6.
Yeah.
I will say, if you want to up the ante a little bit, well, let's see. If you give me Bucks in 6,
I did give you first choice.
You did. Bucks in 6 and Bucks in 7. If I lose, though, I have to drink double, or so you throw some odds in the drinking, chugging a beer. I mean, or we could just keep it how it is. I'm fine with that. Then a push is Bucks in 7. We can keep it. I'm good with that. I'll let you think about it.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, you should have to drink 3, but I don't.
I was gonna say 2 or 3.
Yeah, it'll take you a year and a half.
It's not gonna be great TV.
To drink 3 beers.
It's not great entertainment. You guys wouldn't want to see that unless it's out of a boot. But we're saving that for another stream. So,
all right.
We'll talk it through. When's this game? This game kicks off on. Is this?
Well, they don't kick off.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
They don't play until Tuesday.
So we'll know going into Wednesday's stream what the deal is. So
yeah,
which we'll play with.
Is another problem. I feel like I don't know why the whole NBA playoffs has basically been every other day, and then they reach the finals, and it's like we need 2 days off in between games, and I actually think that sucks. Like, just let's go. Especially in a season where like they're gonna start again in like 2 months. So let's get it over with.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like it, but we don't need to dive into that.
Well, we'll just stick with the original, chug a beer, one or the other, and then push will be on Game 7. Bucks winning Game 7, which is my second choice. But it'll be a fun one either way. We can't wait to watch this one on Tuesday night. I'm going to be stoked. We have a lot to talk about on Wednesday, regardless of what happens. Either we're going to have a Game 7, and we're going to be amped up for that, or we're going to be talking about a Bucks championship. Either way, big news.
Here's what we can do. When Phoenix wins Game 6, you're going to chug a beer. And then when it's Game 7, you'll either that's kind of the same thing. That's the same bet.
It's the same bet. That's fine. Yeah. We'll figure it out. But either way, minimum loser drinks a beer on stream, chugs it, and we'll have a good time with it. How about that?
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Love it. All right, so let's get back into the wheel here. We have a couple more options, and I'm going to erase some of these so we can just streamline this process a little bit. Let's get these out of here because we've already talked about a couple of these guys. Let's get these off, and I'm going to even erase grab bag because we're not going to get to that quite tonight. So at this point, we're a little bit back. So let's go in. All right, Space Jam. All right,
the last one.
So second to last. It was almost the last one, but so this is where I want to hear a lot of you guys in chat because this is a movie that's iconic, right? The original Space Jam. Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny. You had even like just the best NBA player, like the historic dream team style NBA players with the Monstars, right? Man, what a classic movie. Michael Jordan was perfect in it. We had the release of the new Space Jam this past Friday, and I finally had a chance to sit down and watch Space Jam on HBO Max. I don't know if I'd spend money to go see it in the theaters, but saw it on HBO Max, and I want to get your guys' opinion on it in the chat for sure. If you've seen it, throw in what you thought about it, how it compares to the original Space Jam, because I have some opinions, but I want you guys to throw out yours first and foremost. Scotty, you haven't had a chance to see this movie yet. So you're still trying to, get caught up with it. Will you watch it first of all?
Oh, only to verify the fact that I know it's going to be terrible.
So, it wasn't as good as the first one. I'll tell you that. 100%, it wasn't as good. I even looked at the reviews ahead of time. Diacol in chat, not even remotely interested in watching either. Yeah, I hear you.
Wait, never watched the first?
I think she's watched the first one because I've seen the first one. I feel like you had to have watched the first. If you haven't watched the first one, go watch the first one.
Watch the one with the goat.
Yeah. Watch the one with Michael Jordan because it is a really, really. I loved it. It's a great movie, but there were a majority of the new one isn't great. It just seems scrambled to me. It seems like the first one is so natural. It's like, you have no, won't watch either, not interested. Okay, fair enough. I get that. But the first one just seems so natural. How it was written, how it was acted out. Michael Jordan isn't the best actor in the world in that movie, but he's definitely not as bad as LeBron was in this one. LeBron was not a great actor by far in this one. It seemed awkward. It was just not great. It felt like they forced the storyline way too much. There were some cool tidbits in this that I don't want to give away to you, Scotty, that when they're collecting their team of Toon team, their Toon Squad.
Toon Squad, right?
Yeah, their Toon Squad. When they're starting to collect all of the Toon Squad together, there were some fun little things that happened in that, where I was like, there were call outs to other WB, Warner Brother movies, shows that I thought was really, really fun to watch. So you'll get to that part.
Harry Potter or something.
You got. I don't want to give unless you want me to.
I got one, didn't I?
I don't want to give too many away, but there.
I have no idea, but I assume Harry Potter had to be a pick.
Let's just say you'll be transported back to some movies and some shows that you'll really be excited about. However,
when you say Warner Brothers, Harry Potter has to be in there.
So, I thought there was some fun aspects of that. That was probably my favorite part of the whole movie. And then you get into there's some all other surprises from other NBA talent and other things that end up popping into this one as well. They did a good job at hiding some of the surprise, but it didn't live up to any expectations when it came to trying to be the first Space Jam. It was not even close. Too cheesy, too forced. I didn't like it, man. I didn't like it. There was only a couple pieces I did. LeBron's acting wasn't great. Seemed forced. The opening 5 to 10 minutes, Scotty, you're gonna absolutely hate.
Great.
So
that's how I would start a movie. Make sure everyone hates the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, for LeBron fans, they're gonna love it. For LeBron critics, not so much. So you'll have a fun time breaking that down and watching some of those pieces. But
here's my favorite part. I haven't watched it, obviously. And this was, I'll give credit, it was Colin Coward on Twitter pointed this out. He pointed out, so when LeBron was obviously at Game 5, they, on ABC, obviously Game 5 was on ABC, owned by Disney, right? Not Warner Brothers. Showed LeBron James and said he's the star of Space Jam: A New Legacy. And underneath that, they decided to show the Rotten Tomatoes score, the IMDb score, and the Metacritic score.
It's not good.
Oh, the Rotten Tomatoes was 31%. The IMDb was 4 out of 10, which is crazy low. And the Metacritic was 38%. And like Colin pointed out, like, this is no accident. Like, Disney, who owns, obviously, you know, the big movie out, you know, Marvel Universe, so Black Widow right now they're competing with, on ABC pointed out how bad Space Jam is with LeBron and Warner Brothers in order to maybe sway some people from, like, choosing to go see that instead of Black Widow. And I love that. That's my favorite part of that movie so far, is the fact that they got shaded on by ABC during NBA Final because ABC threw out the crap reviews of the movie.
Oh man, the Rotten Tomato score didn't help me jump into this one. I wanted to watch it regardless, but I think it was at 40% when the weekend started. It must have dropped because now it's 31. It's I don't know if how quickly those get updated, but it's not great. It's if you didn't watch this movie, Scotty, you wouldn't be disappointed. But I'm sure you're gonna watch it.
No, I'm gonna watch it and be happy at how bad it is.
It's a one-time view for me. So I don't want to. If you guys out there love LeBron, watch it. If you love Space Jam, you're gonna be disappointed. But check it out. I'm
considering watching both movies with my son and not giving him any pretext or anything like that. Like, my son, he's 4. He doesn't know who Michael Jordan is. He doesn't know who LeBron James is. To be clear, he does know who Patrick Mahomes is. And I'll drink again.
He's not in the movie, by the way. He's not in the movie.
He should be. Well, clearly with those reviews. But maybe I'll try and watch him with my son and see his thoughts on it.
Yeah, but might as well, right?
He's also not going to be a great film critic because I know what he watches now, and it's not great.
Well, again, maybe I've set the expectation so low that it's not going to be. It might surprise people, but I doubt it. It's kind of a clunky movie, to say the least. But again,
well, and then half the time LeBron is like real, and then half the time he's like
a cartoon.
Like a cartoon? Like, I don't
yeah,
understand that.
yeah. You'll get into
Does that make sense?
you'll get into the mix of it, and you'll see the back and forth. But just the overall, like, it doesn't have the same, like, it's not as natural as the first one was. So, just keep that in mind when you're watching. But let us know your
someone
critics
on Twitter, and I already lost it. Oh, here it is. Oh, yeah. Someone on Twitter posted Michael Jordan's stats in the game, big game on Space Jam, and LeBron's. And I don't even know if this is true. But Michael Jordan in Space Jam, 22 of 22 from the field, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 game winner. And LeBron in Space Jam 2, 4 of 5 from the field, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and I won't say the last part because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. But by the way, his team wins, and he might have the game winner.
Hey.
So I lied. I did spoil it.
Spoiler.
If anyone thought the Toon Squad was going to lose, how dare you?
Oh man, it's a rough one, but check it out.
Is that like remotely true? Do you think like Mike was 22 of 22 and LeBron was 4 of 5, or is that just like a totally made up thing?
It depends if they're taking scene by scene how many shots they've made. Yeah, there's some caveats to this one that if you did like multiplier, I don't want to give too much away. There's multipliers to scoring in this one based off of the theme of the movie. So technically,
I'm just
if you add
someone that said something about LeBron scored 100 plus style points.
That's what I'm talking about. If that's the case, then
style
LeBron,
point?
you'll see. Just watch the movie.
I already hate this. I knew I hated it, but I hate it even more knowing there's style points.
It's not a normal basketball game. It's
a damn basketball game. There's no style points.
Oh man, you're probably gonna text me after this and be like, "What the hell did I just watch?"
I'm gonna mad text you a lot. What do we got here? Space Jam. My gift. Yes.
Should we? Let's. All right. How many spins? Over under. How many more spins we're gonna take to get the 50-50 here? Over under 1.5 more spins.
I'll take the under.
So you got to hit it in the next 1 or 2.
I mean, 1.5 is the under is the right play there.
So if it doesn't hit here, you lost out on the under.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you're losing. You gotta. It's always the over.
I don't trust your spin thing at all.
Last spin, and then we're just gonna start talking about the open. Oh, we're talking about it. All right, let's go. We're gonna close out the show with some open talk. Now we have a big tournament now. This is the first time I really got into, like, this show has really done a lot for me, right, Scotty? Like, we've talked a lot about golf on this show, which I don't typically do. I've gotten you into some UFC that you don't typically watch UFC that, I haven't really either, but I'm a little bit more, into following some of that stuff. So, we're helping each other advance our knowledge in various sports, and hopefully we're doing the same for you guys at home, because sometimes it's not just about the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. There's other sports out there that maybe you guys don't have as much knowledge on, that neither do we, but we like to learn about these things. So I've learned more about golf in the last 6 months than I have probably in my whole life, which is great.
You're welcome.
So Scotty's getting me into it, but we had a big matchup here this past weekend when it came to the Open, which is played out overseas, out in England. So it was played at St. George's Golf Club, England, and Colin Morikawa ended up outlasting Jordan Spieth and Louis Oosthuizen. Did I say that?
Oosthuizen.
All right.
It's hard for me to say, and I watch.
Now,
regardless.
Now, given the fact that we did a little preview this past Wednesday, whether you were glitching out with us or not, we had a couple insights into who we thought was going to be competing in this one. I thought you said Morikawa was one. I thought maybe not. He was on a list.
But I literally have everyone else.
No, he was on a list of maybe guys to look out for, but our top 3, or at least my top 3, included Jordan Spieth. Now, Jordan Spieth ended up making this a really, really enjoyable tournament to watch because obviously he's a nice young kid he's established. I mean, he's a solid player on the tour. You know his name. You've seen his name. And he made this, all of them, made this really, really exciting to watch down the stretch. Now, Colin Morikawa ended up winning this one, and he was fantastic all the way through. He ended up coming back. There was also a couple others. Jordan Spieth obviously played well. The favorite coming into this one was, what's his name?
Jon Rahm.
Jon Rahm made an insane comeback and ended up finishing really, really high compared to what he started out with on the first couple days of this tournament, and that was fun to watch. So, Scotty.
Ironically, he shot the exact same in each round of the last 3 rounds as Morikawa did. That first round, unfortunately, he was separated by 4 from Morikawa. This tournament was fun, and I think I referenced a total of 7 golfers I really liked, and kind of pinpointed it outside of missing on Morikawa really, really well. I had Jordan Spieth finish second, Jon Rahm and Louis Oosthuizen. I said that really wrong. Tied for 3rd. I had Koepka, who tied for 6th. I had Scotty Scheffler, who not a lot of people would have even painted in the picture, tied for 8th. Victor Hovland, who is a up-and-coming guy, tied for 12th. Literally, my worst guy in my top 7 finished tied for 26th with Xander Schauffele. So I feel really, really good about the guys I picked. I was in a pool, actually, where you pick just 5 golfers. And the guy who won had 4 of the same golfers as I did. Unfortunately, he had Morikawa, and I had Hovland, who Morikawa won. Hovland finished in 12th, and that was the difference in, me winning that pool. But there were 50 people in that pool, and I feel really good about the guys I had. So I feel like I'm coming into understanding some guys and knowing some guys and pinpointing some guys moving forward. So maybe we'll be able to help you guys out if you want to bet on golf. Betting on golf makes golf so much more interesting.
Oh yeah.
Let me be clear.
Let
me be clear.
I know that firsthand, by the way.
And you don't have to bet a lot of money. Bet $5 on 5 guys. You don't want to just bet on one guy, because what's wrong with that is if he's not in it, you're like, oh, that sucks. Bet on 5 guys, low monetary, where it doesn't even it's not a big win, but you're in it. You're in it now. So you're involved.
I did exactly that, and I had Jordan Spieth as one of my guys. I bet $5. I ended up cashing out with $20 towards the end of this tournament. So $5 to win 20. That's still, I'll take that return all day. I bet $5 on 4 guys. I ended up breaking even pretty much. So I'll take it. But in the Thursday show, I told you, and maybe this is us throwing out our knowledge that, I started looking into these things. Quote, and I have this on my list here. We could see someone like Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, Louis Oosthuizen, or Victor Hovland win this tournament. Of those 5 guys, 3 of which were in the top 3. 3 out of 5. So, if there's anything that I can fall back on, it's that. Now, when I said one of these 3 out of Brooks Koepka, Schauffele, and Hovland should win, one of those guys should be in the top 3, I was a little wrong on those. None of those were in the top 3, but the overarching players that I had in the previous list did not disappoint. So, have some fun with this, guys. Like, I bet on 4 guys and had some fun watching them up and down the leaderboards, and it was a great time. It makes it so much more enjoyable.
And now we gotta. I mean, Morikawa is someone we have to start talking about. We'll see where he moves forward. Like, he's approaching. I mean, he's 24 years old. He's now won the Open Championship. He's won the PGA Championship within the last calendar year, both of those, and his first appearances in both. It was his first time playing in both those tournaments. I mean, even in other tournaments, I think in, the U.S. Open, he finished 4th. The Masters, he finished 18th this year. So, like,
he's no joke.
He is probably the best ball striker in all of golf right now. His putting is in his short game is what may let him down at times right now, but it's not letting him down a lot. Like, he's the only golfer to win both of those tournaments prior to 25 outside of Tiger Woods. Like, he's getting in a realm where that's kind of unheard of as far as performance at his age. So he's probably not talked about enough. We'll see if he has, like, if he blows up and starts winning tournaments. I don't know if he has the marketability and the personality to, like, follow a Tiger Woods. Like, who can possibly follow a Tiger Woods, right?
That's a whole. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
No one would ever be able to follow him, but he's a guy that's really, really good. Gonna be around for a long time. We've seen this with guys like you talked about Spieth. Spieth did this at a young age, and then kind of fell off for a bit, and now has had a great year, even though he hasn't won a major this year. Won a couple tournaments.
Yep.
And second at this one, Spieth is back in the picture as one of the. I mean, Spieth is, if he's in contention at a tournament, he's one of the biggest draws on tour. And the other draws we talked about before this season kind of started or really took off for PGA, how there's now a pool of money for the top 10 players on tour that get mentioned in, like, some sort of algorithm that involves, like, social media, internet searches, things like that. Right? Do you remember that?
Yep.
So part of this Koepka DeChambeau rivalry we've talked about, certainly involves this. I think Koepka knows exactly what he's doing, and he's, like, feeding the fire because it's getting him mentions, it's getting him
notoriety.
Probably gonna be. I think Koepka is gonna be number 2 behind. Well, Tiger, I assume, still will be number 1, even though he's not gonna play all year. That's just how big Tiger is. But Koepka's probably going to be number 2. He knows what he's doing. Like, there's a money pool there. That's a free. I don't even know what he makes as the number 2 guy. I assume it's over $1 million to do nothing at all outside of be the second most searched.
He's bringing eyeballs to a sport that are desperate for eyeballs, right? And that's the thing with this. And I was going to touch on this a little bit here in a minute, but if you're talking about matchups, you want to see the most eyeballs on any tournament at all. Pair up Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka in a tournament side by side. You will see those ratings explode. I'm telling you, it's going to be the most watched tournament, and that's a good thing for golf. I think it's a great thing because you're getting eyeballs on it that you wouldn't normally get. It's what people want to see. Now, another golfer we on this show Wednesday, we faded Bryson DeChambeau because of his experience on links courses and because he isn't. We just
he
didn't.
Just kind of sucks as a person.
We faded him. Sure enough, he was awful. He barely made the cut. He finally get through, and he had a good last round, but that was about it. Like, people were watching to see where he would finish, regardless of because everyone is like, where's Brooks finishing? Where's he finishing? There was some drama on Thursday where he had a bad opening day, and this was fantastic. You and I were texting back and forth where he was like, he got in trouble with his driver, his sponsor company that puts out what he uses, Cobra, and he said this driver in a post-match or post-round interview, this driver sucks and this and that. Well, Cobra didn't appreciate that, and they came out and were like, what he said was really stupid, and we put a lot of time and energy into making something really good for him, and they do custom stuff for him. So they're trying
even worse, the guy who, it wasn't even Cobra, it was the guy at Cobra who came out and said all this was also the guy who filled in as his caddy after his caddy and him separated ways mid-tournament a couple weeks prior. So the guy who filled in his caddy, who knows him really well, has been around him, and knows how much Cobra has worked for him. And listen, he has a literally 5-degree lofted driver right now that he's using, which, by the way, you can't, like, literally the lowest loft you can buy commercially is 8.5 degrees. So a 5-degree loft is stupid and dumb. And even other guys on tour are like, oh, who would have predicted it? Forget the loft, but he's like I think Justin Thomas, I think it was Justin Thomas, I might be wrong on this, but someone on tour who's a name player was like, who would have thought you swinging at a swing speed of 135 miles per hour wouldn't allow you to always hit it straight? Like, he swings so hard that, like, yeah, it's gonna be an inconsistent directional drive, like, with how far you're hitting it and this and that. So him blaming the driver, he sucks. I don't know. I don't like him personality wise. I don't like what he's doing to the game, trying to just outdrive everything. Maybe I'm a little old school in that fashion. Like, I would rather have a guy that just hits it long but in the fairway than a guy that hits it crazy long and he doesn't even care if it goes in the rough because he only has 70 yards left of the hole. That kind of sucks.
Well, the rough sucked for him this tournament because it's a different game out there at this tournament. It's not the same rough that you're normally used to, and he found that out, and he struggled quite a bit. So he came out and apologized. He was like, oh, yeah, my bad. Like, that was dumb of me, blah, blah, blah. So whatever. But then what came of this was Brooks Koepka teasing him and throwing shade his way in social media and post interviews where he was just like, oh, I love my driver, and driving into the next round, it was fantastic. This is what golf needs. They need some sort of rivalry.
It's not even a rivalry. This is the biggest mismatch ever.
I mean,
and it doesn't even have to do with their on-course performance. Although on course, Brooks has dominated him since this whole rivalry has kind of occurred. But Brooks is so much better at, like, throwing shade towards Bryson than Bryson is towards Brooks.
He's a better shit talker.
It's like, oh, he's way better. Way better, way more entertaining.
So, yeah, it's what golf needs. And here's the thing, both these guys are semi-competitive. I mean, they're not finishing dead last in these. They're missing cuts consistently. They're competing, and they're making it further along in tournaments for the most part. So
they're two of the certainly top 10 golfers in the world.
So, I mean, it's only good that there's this kind of drama happening. So, yeah, just fun to watch. Just wait till they get paired up, and golf will explode.
It'll happen. I don't think it'll happen in like a pairing where the tournament decides it, because I think Bryson doesn't want that. But eventually, the results stipulate who's paired with who, and they'll be paired up, and I'll be there to watch as Bryson just melts. Bryson will melt.
Incredible.
Melt.
But yeah, man, that's where we're at, though. Biggest wheel of the year that we just got through, and we're glad we did it with you guys. So appreciate all of you guys for hopping in on a Sunday night. We're getting you just geared up for the weekend. If you're here and you're not following the channel, hit us up. Hit that follow button. Make sure you're part of each and every Wednesday and Sunday show so you can enjoy all the sports talk, all the hot takes, everything. If you want to throw in your opinions, we want that too. So Appreciate all you guys for just being here watching. We'll be back here on Wednesday night. I know we've been getting a lot of like go lives. We've been going live like randomly on Mondays, Tuesdays, all these different weird days. Just don't turn off your notifications. Just power through those. We're only going live on Wednesdays and Sundays for right now. As of this moment, we could, as we get bigger and grow, that could change. But Wednesdays and Sundays, disregard any other go lives for now unless we make a special announcement on one of our shows. But thank you guys for, battling through the technical difficulties last week. All of the notifications you're probably getting hit with. Maybe that's why, we haven't seen some of you guys in, because don't turn them off. Don't turn them off. We still love you. We're not trying to spam you, but thank you guys so much. We will see you back here on Wednesday. We have a huge show. We have some big things in the works too. We're going to try to be better at social media moving forward, so we'll keep you up to date on those new updates as well. And then we have even more announcements coming up in the coming weeks. And then we're gearing up for NFL coming up. So more bets, more top fantasy football picks, you name it, we get into it. So can't wait to see you guys back in. So appreciate you guys for being here. Scotty, anything you want to leave everyone with?
Appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Wednesday. Can't wait to get you guys and get involved in the chat if you're here. Like, talk to us.
100%.
We respond to chat. We are all in on having a conversation with you guys and seeing what you guys have to say. We'll see what happens moving forward. We're gonna have a good show. NFL's coming up. Olympics are
right around the
coming
corner.
up right around the corner, which I don't know if we have a huge preview session for that, but once it's starting, we'll certainly talk about it and dive into that a little bit, and especially the big events. I don't know, and, even things like you never watch outside of 4 years, like gymnastics, swimming, things like that, but they captivate the U.S., the American audience for at least that Olympic stretch, which I'm going to watch. I can't wait to watch.
We'll bet some medal counts.
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's bet some medal counts. Let's do it. Have some fun with it.
U.S. will win the medal count, but that's a bet that is probably so heavily weighted that it won't be worth it.
It's not going to be. Yeah, you might want to bet on somebody else there, but we'll give you. Maybe we'll give you that. We'll try to see. You know what? I think individual betting, like swimming individuals, track and field individuals, those are the bets that we could have some fun with. Favorites, underdogs. We could do some things there. I'll be all about that. Get you guys all updated on that and get you winning some money out there. So can't wait to see you guys back here. Each show gets better and better with all of you guys. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you back here on Wednesday to get you halfway through that work week. We know the work week isn't great. We know the school week isn't great for all you young kids out there that are watching the stream, but we'll get you through no matter what. So love you guys.
Unfortunately, it's summer.
You got summer school, man. People got summer school. Maybe the slackers out there watching the stream, maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
Mayday's probably in summer school.
Mayday's in summer, yeah.
A while.
Play between the baseball and the summer school. He's probably busy, but
I'm gonna reach out to Mayday. I'm not pleased with him right now.
It's been a while. We missed those guys. Yeah, we have. By the way, let's just throw last again. Everyone who's been following recently, Marie, Yo-Yo 26, CJ7, Diacola, Office Nike. Thank you guys so much for being followers of the channel. It means a lot. And we will hopefully have more of you guys by the next stream. We're trying to get to 50, so help us get to 50, guys. Help us get to 50. It means a lot. But we'll see you back here Wednesday. Love you guys.